Welcome back to the public test server patch for the Homestead update. Now I'm going to discuss the crafting for furniture and decor for your home. In order to craft furniture, you will need to first have a recipe which you can collect from various locations. You can purchase some from vendors, the alchemist, the blacksmith, the clothier, the enchanter, the woodworker, sometimes the mystic and the grocer, and I cannot guarantee that every single one of them will have a recipe in their inventory. I ran around different locations. I had no luck for woodworkers with any kind of recipe until I hit Bankarai, which for my faction would have in the old days been the level 40 zone. So you're going to have to check. If you don't find a recipe on one of these types of trade vendors in a particular zone, you'll have to change location and go to another zone and look there, because right now as the patch sits, the contents of these vendors are not consistent. Also, you can locate different types of recipes in containers around the world, from drops from monsters or from pickpocketing or murdering citizens. Also was able to locate recipes the same way that you find recipes for provisioning and for the motifs that are in the world, by looking through containers. The best luck that I had finding any kind of recipe was going into a dungeon and searching through urns, baskets, urns and baskets so far. I haven't been able to find any of those crafting recipes for furniture in any other kind of container. The barrels, the boxes, I was not able yet to locate them, but that doesn't mean that you can't find them there. It just means I was unable to locate them. On the forums, there's a lot of complaint that the crafters have to be all on one character. And basically what I have discovered is that it's not necessarily true. The higher the quality of the recipe, the more different skill lines you might have to have leveled in order to make that particular recipe or to learn it. These white recipes I was able to locate by purchasing from a blacksmithing vendor for gold, for in-game gold. This green display piece here, the bowl of soup display, is a provisioning recipe that I located in a basket. But as you can see, this also requires recipe improvement 1. So technically, even if you haven't leveled all the way up to 50 in provisioning, you could still make this bowl of soup display. Then I have another one down here, which is also green. Look at me, I found my bed, finally. So I have located a Breton bunk bed recipe, or pattern, they're calling them patterns, I guess. Diagrams and patterns. I located this in an urn in a dungeon. This is, even though it's green, and so I'm going to start questioning whether it's green it's going to require 2 or not. You're just going to have to look at the description. In this case, you need to have tailoring 4 and woodworking 2. So in this case, none of my characters at this point can make this craft, because in my case I chose to level different crafts on different characters because of the time that it took to research traits, especially on armor and weapons. At tailoring 4, I do have a tailor, and she probably could put points into woodworking just to make this bed. So I'll have to do that later with her. So I just wanted to kind of show you that. I have not located any blue or purple recipes at this point. Now that I have the blacksmithing station here, I can look to see what I can create. So now I can create my items. Once I've learned it, it will show up in here. It shows you what you know in diagrams. That's a new button. So now I can create items based on what I know and what materials I have in my inventory. For each trade skill, you're going to have a new type of material, and these materials, like all of the other materials, will be located by finding crafting nodes. So woodworking will use heartwood from lumber nodes, blacksmithing will use regulus from ore nodes, clothing will use bast from fibrous plants or clean pelts from beasts. Alchemy will have a requirement for alchemical resin from mushrooms and alchemical plants. Enchanting will require the use of mundane runes from runestones. And provisioning will require the use of decorative wax from crates, barrels, and other sources of provisioning ingredients. So that is basically what you need to know. There are also other requirements for style. Okay, so if you have a particular style that says Breton, High Elf, Orc, or so forth, you're also going to have materials of the particular race trait in order to craft, say, the Breton bed. So you don't have to know racial styles, but you do have to have the style item that is associated with that race. So in the case of the Breton bed, not only do I need to learn the style and have the skills for 2 crafting styles, but I also need to have the ingredient for crafting Breton style. I do not have to know any of the Breton motifs or the race motifs. I just have to have the material. So that's basically it. That's pretty much a rundown of the very basics of the crafting. So once you know your recipe or your diagram, you can craft the item. And now I should be able to go into my editor and locate my little item. I have a hatchet now. See? So that's basically it. It's pretty simple. I think that you can locate the white, green, blue, and purple recipes by searching through barrels and going about your daily activities of going through nodes, but the next level would be the yellows, and as far as I know, those will require multiple skill lines leveled to 50. You will have to do crafting writs, and I will go into that in a separate video. And also, I believe that those recipes come in fragments, like some of the special exotic style motifs that we're all used to. So I will do a different video on that, and thank you for watching.